What's going on, guys? In this video, you're going to learn how to create a cold calling script to sell your services or products in a B2B setting. I've been cold calling for Service Bell now for the last month or two. Probably made over 1,000 cold calls last month. Booked 40 meetings from cold calling, I think. And I want to tell you how you can do the same. A 4% book rate from dials is pretty solid for cold calls, and I think I can share some advice with you. So I'm going to go through a framework that's going to teach you how to do this step by step. By the way, if you want my free lead generation training document that will teach you how to build a lead list for cold outreach, specifically for cold email, it's bulletproof. You can grab that down below in the description. But today we're going to stick to cold calling. So the first part of a cold call is the opening line. I usually have been saying just hi name. Um, you know, this is Jacob from Service Bell. How are you? And it's there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not this is a good opening line. People say you can't say this one because it's so obvious you're a salesperson, and nobody they know that you don't actually care who they are and whatever. But I've been calling salespeople, and they've been very nice. In fact, usually when I say how are you, even if they say is this a sales call, I just go yeah it is. Like I guess you can smell a cold caller a mile away, huh? And they start laughing because they're salespeople. So I understand my buyer persona, and that because I understand the buyer persona and because they are salespeople, I can joke about the fact that I'm cold calling them, and it will make them laugh because they've been in my shoes. So that actually allows them that makes them lighten up for me to pitch them. But you kind of have to understand your own market, and this may or may not work for you. I would say generally speaking, this is not a bad way to do it as long as you actually say it like you mean it, right? Like don't be like, hey, this is Jacob from Service Bell. How are you? Right? You gotta say, hey John. This is Jacob from Service Bell. How's it going today? Right? I have a smile when I'm saying it. You can hear the difference in my tone. And based on how they respond to you, you can go from there. Like they might say, good. And then you go, great. Here's the reason I'm calling you. Or if they go, I'm doing well. How are you? I can kind of schmooze and be like, oh, I'm doing great. Da, da, da. Sometimes I will throw in a thing or two about like if their name is David, I'll be like, hey David, that's my dad's name by the way. I'm Jacob from Service Bell. How are you? Or if they're hiring, I'll say, hey John, saw you were hiring. Congrats on the growth. My name's Jacob from Service Bill. How's it going today? I'll just throw something in to show that I'm a little bit different than other salespeople. It's a bit more personalized, kind of like a personalized first line in a cold email. But if you want to go generic, I honestly think this is fine as long as you say it in the right way and you can read the person's response. The whole point of the opening line is just to get them to respond and engage with you within the first few seconds of the call. If you open the call and start monologuing with your pitch, not good. They're going to hang up on you. I would say another opening line you could use is, "Hey John, this is Jacob from Service Bell calling you to follow up on the email I sent you. Does the Service Bell sound familiar?" Something like that, and that will get them to engage. They're either going to say yes or no, and from there you can go into your pitch. But either way, eventually the very next thing you say after your opening line is going to be the reason for the call. So I'll usually say. Well, here's the thing. People want to know why you're calling them very, very quickly. They don't know who you are or why you're calling them. So you have to tell them who you are and why you're calling very quickly. Otherwise, that's going to be what's on their mind. They're not going to want to talk to you until they know why you're calling them. So one thing you can say is the reason I'm calling you is to follow up on the recent email I sent you. Does Service Bell sound familiar? And if they say yes, then you're great. Or whatever your company name. If they say yes, great. You're already in, at least a bit more warm than before. And if they say no, that's like, oh, okay, no worries. Well, I emailed you because, and then value prop. Um, I've been saying the following. I would say the reason I'm calling you is, um, I know it's important for sales teams to respond to their leads quickly before they lose interest, right? And then I go right into my value prop, which is and Service Bell helps you um, call your leads at the peak of their interest, which is while they're on your website. So you can qualify more of them. And then I go into my qualifying question, which is how are you currently handling inbound lead response right now? So it's, hey name, this is Jacob from Service Bell. How are you? The reason I'm calling you is I know it's important for sales teams to respond to their leads quickly before they lose interest. And Service Bell helps you call your leads at the peak of their interest, which is actually while they're on your website, so you can qualify more of them. And then I'm calling to ask how are you currently handling your inbound lead response right now? So what are we doing here? And by the way, this can be mix and matched. I'm actually thinking about having a more targeted outreach strategy where I even will submit my information to the company and have them try and contact me. So I already know how they're responding to inbound leads. And when I call them, I actually have an even more like personalized direct approach. I've done my homework. But what we're doing here is the following. We're just opening up, we're giving them, a quick opener, getting them to engage. We're then telling them the reason that we're calling them off the bat, and we're giving them a quick value prop to pique their interest, followed by a qualifying question. So I would say the most important part is right here. The reason for the call slash value prop is like one sentence, 1 to 2 sentences. You need to get this off in about 10 to 15 seconds. And then you need to go into a qualifying question. The qualifying question is meant to get them talking, right? It's an open-ended question. It should be a how or a what question. It should be related to the problem that you are trying to solve. And you need to ask the question in a way that's going to make them speak about the problem you're solving. So, um, if you phrase your and this question isn't even doing it that well, to be frank. Like I could be saying something like, how are you currently making sure you're following up with leads right now before they lose interest or on time or within 5 minutes? And that's if I ask, how are you currently making sure that you don't take too long to follow up with your leads? Something like that. That's gonna make them think, huh? Am I taking too long to follow up with my leads? And they're gonna start talking and whatever. Once they start talking, you got them on the hook. This is when you're going to use your salesmanship to mirror them and label. So they're going to answer you. If you want them to speak a bit more without asking another question, you can, and they say, we have some software that's doing it for us. You could say, software doing it for you? And then they'll be like, yeah, and then they'll keep talking. So that way you're getting them to keep talking without having to ask another question, which doesn't make it feel like they're being interviewed, but they are going to keep speaking. And then another thing that you can do is once they do give you a complete thought and you have enough intel to summarize it, you can say, it sounds like right now you have a pretty good system set up, and they'll be like, yeah, that's right, and or whatever. You want to summarize how they're feeling. Once you have them um, in a position where they've been speaking and you're qualifying them, if they say something where you feel like they're actually qualified or you feel like they are interested or they start asking you questions like how does it work or X, Y, and Z, right? You start feeling some momentum, some blood in the water. That's when you go for the kill. That's when you say, great, you know what? It sounds like X, Y, and Z, but I think, right? You want to go for the call to action. So I'd love to show you how we can. I'm gonna. You need to sell the meeting. How we can help you respond to leads faster and qualify more. Um, are you around later this week for an intro call? So that's not a very strong CTA. I'm kind of just making this up on the fly. But the point is, you need to tell them based on what you're telling me. Great, I'd love to do X, Y, and Z. I'd love to benefit for you, right? I'd love to insert benefit here and show you X, Y, and Z, or how we're helping other companies like you with X, Y, and Z. Are you around later this week for an intro call, right? And that's where you go for the kill. So you open the call, standard. Give them the reason for the call as well as a value prop, and then go into a qualifying question, which is meant to extract information from them. And then you're going to go into a back and forth conversation. In between the qualifying question and the CTA, you're going to have to use your salesmanship and just engage in conversation, summarize, label, try and get the intel you need. And if they're qualified, go for the kill. You might have a few objections, by the way. And if you want to know how to overcome objections in cold calls, you can leave a comment down below and I can help you out there. But this is the general framework. This is the general flow of every conversation you're going to have over the phone. And if you follow this process, you should be able to book. Like the hardest part with cold calling is actually getting the right people on the phone. If you can do that, you should be able to get the right. If you can get the right people on the phone, you should be able to book meetings with them as long as you're smooth on the phone and you know what to say. Hopefully enjoy this video. Don't forget to grab the free training down below. Once again, it will help you generate really targeted lead lists for outreach. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.